Now I gotta ride or die.
G'day guys, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. Today is an episode that I didn't really want to make. In fact, I was kind of just hoping someone else would come to the shed and do this job for me. But alas, it looks like I'm going to have a crack at doing it myself. Been doing a lot of welding practice over the last couple of weeks since I got the welder out of the box. Had the welder for a couple of months now, but got it out of the box a couple of weeks ago. Done heaps and heaps of practice. Built that pedal box as you guys saw. So I figured I may as well do this. So let's turn the camera around and I'll show you what we are hopefully going to do today. All right, so the front of the car here, there's a little bit of rot on this side, and this is basically the front slam panel section that bolts to the like the crash bar or front cross member, and you can see where it's rotted away there, and you can see bits of like rust starting to form around these bolts, and I did clean it up and bash a hole through there where it has rotted, and you can see it's rotted away in there. This side has been repaired at some point because like on this side it's spot welded and you can see the spot welds, but this side it's not as rotten, and you can see that it's actually seam welded along, so you know that this side has been repaired and it's nowhere near as bad in there either. There's a little bit of rot on that front chassis leg and behind the slam panel here, just where my finger is. So basically what I'm going to be doing today is cutting out the sections of rot and patching it and welding it. I've got a whole new piece to replace there. Yeah. All right, so no turning back now. Bash the angle grinder out it comes, cut it off. Try to drill out the spot welds at the bottom there, but it just turned out that it was so corroded on this side that it was easy just to pull it out, give it a little touch with the grinder, and then just pull the whole thing out as one. I wanted to measure up this side first and weld in the plate to replace it before I took it out. Probably, honestly, would have been easier to not put this piece in. So if you guys are doing a similar job, I would advise that you just take the whole cross member out before welding in any kind of patches. It just kind of got in the way when I was refitting and test fitting and measuring up by putting in the cross member every time, just to measure up all the other bits and pieces that I had to cut out. And boys and girls, it's out. And here it is. I actually had to cut it in half down the middle to get it out. So this piece was there, and as soon as I cut it, and you can see I've cut that top tab off there as well because it's extremely corroded on there, well and truly. As soon as I cut it, this piece pretty much came straight out. This other piece here, to wiggle it a lot and get it out, because it was just destroyed up here along the top, and in the end I wound up just getting the angle grinder in and just slicing along there to cut it off, because, well, I need to replace that tab anyway. So I think I'm going to clean up the garage, and that's going to be me for the day, and come back tomorrow and do some more work. And you can see on that right end of the new piece that I'd welded in that I've had to turn it up and bend it up, get it out of the way so I could just get the cross member in and fit it, test fit it and adjust it and all that kind of stuff, so I could measure up what sort of bits I needed to cut out and repair. So I put the new one in. You can see that there it is, but it doesn't do up. Now this is the old cross section that I cut out, and the bolts are the right size. Everything that I got from Scott Kyle is the right size. Goes in, no problems. A little bit tight because of the corrosion at the top there, but it's the right thread size, and you can see that it goes in, no issues. This is the old one. Goes in the same. Stops in a little bit, obviously, because of the corrosion at the top of the old stud. But then, if I put it in, get rid of that washer, it doesn't go. Alright, so I was going to take the cross member into town and get new bolts, but I thought, nah, I'm just going to take the ones off the top and buy new ones. So that's what I've done, and let's fit this cross member to the front of the car.
Now we're all sorted with the new bolts though, or the new nuts even, I mean. It's so much easier to get back in now that everything's the right size and it fits dead easy, goes in straight away.
Right, so literally that easy. Once I got the nuts on the top, and I will clean off these little weld nubs from the old ones that came with the cross member. I'll clean those up, and I haven't decided yet if I'm going to weld them down. I might. I've got washers. I'll see how I think. I probably will weld them down onto the cross member though, because that's how it came from the factory. But really happy with how that fits. Nice and perfect, apart from the bolts obviously, or the nuts even. So now that's in, what I need to do is I'm going to cut this piece out, probably back to about here, and measure up and make that new piece. And then I do have, this is from this side, I think. Yeah, this is from this side. So I do have this here that sits on, but obviously this is the old one that's rotten, and that was where it was like rotted away. So basically just gonna cut out from sheet steel a new piece. Again, probably gonna come back a bit further than what I have done here, so maybe cut out a little bit more, but gonna measure that up. That's the next job, and then put the new piece in, tack the new piece in, and then I'm gonna spot weld in here, ready to go to make that all nice and secure. Alrighty, so what I did here is, like, yeah, look, it's not the neatest, but works, and it'll clean up real nice with the angle grinder, and then I'll cover it with I'm gonna cover it with seam sealer and paint it anyway. So basically I made like a spot weld here, another up here, another here, and then like in the corner, and then I just did spot, 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 and then I skipped a section, spot, 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 skipped, and that section came back here, and then that way, because the metal's so thin, it allowed the metal to cool down, so I didn't burn heaps of holes through it. And I did burn a little hole through it at the top here, but I managed to fill that up nicely with weld. Anyway,
I'll talk a bit more in depth in a second about this little welding technique that I'm using, but yeah, just sit back, relax, and enjoy my dulcet tone in a couple more seconds.
So that's pretty much the method I used to weld everything along the front end, especially this really, really thin sheet metal that is attached to the front slam panel that then welds onto the cross member there. All I'll do now is just drill some holes in the front of this piece, clamp it down, bend it in, weld it on, And the reason why, like I said in the voiceover, the reason why I'm just doing like spot, 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 break, spot, 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 is because the metal itself is so thin that what I've found is if I hold it on too long, basically just burn a hole through it, and I get a really horrible, messy weld. But I think you'll agree that looks heaps tidier than what I've previously done. So yeah, happy with that. Let's drill the holes, clamp it down, weld it on, seam seal, and have lunch. All right, so it's in now. Seam sealer is drying. Really happy with how that all turned out. And as I said, it's in now. That's it. Like I told you guys, the seam sealer is drying. Once the seam sealer is dry, I'll just prime it and paint it and then piece everything back together. I'm really excited to get the front end of the car back on, get the alternator in, radiator in, all that kind of good stuff. Turbo manifold, fit the new turbo, and then it's brake lines, fuel lines, and wiring harness. Guys, as always, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you sticking with me as I learn to weld on what is an extremely rare car here in Australia and even pretty rare in the UK. Hopefully I didn't upset anyone, but I'm happy with the end results, and it's all behind the front bumper. Not a concourse car. Nice and solid. Gonna last another 30 years. Cheers, guys. See you in the next episode.